The Netflix series Beef was a pleasant surprise to many when it dropped earlier this year. I don't think anyone expected an Asian American show to feel so raw and uninhibited. It was clear from the first episode that the showrunners didn't want to conform to the standards and expectations that prior Asian American shows had set. Let's look at the 4 ways in which Beef stands out from its predecessors. Number 1. Absence of immigrant storylines. Most Asian American shows revolve around first and second generation immigrant experiences because these stories are immediately distinct from other Western shows, which increases their marketability. These themes would also be considered too vanilla for a show starring regular white Americans. An example would be a plotline that involves a conservative Korean father accepting that homosexuals aren't degenerates through his interactions with a gay Caucasian dad. Another popular second-generation immigrant plotline might involve a young guy or girl who wants to drop out of college to pursue a career in the arts, against the wishes of their strict, practical Asian parents. The issue with always presenting Asian Americans within an East versus West context is that it gives people the wrong impression that Asians don't have any problems other than trying to fit into their Western surroundings. Beef bucks this trend by having all its main characters be US-raised adults. Because they're not children or immigrants, the characters are not constantly confused by their identity. This allows Beef to approach the Asian American experience from interesting angles that relate more to personality and situations rather than the dichotomy of culture. Since the characters are of the non-immigrant variety, the show also doesn't exploit immigrant characteristics that can come across as gimmicky narrative crutches, such as using heavily accented English to generate humor, or exploiting non-Judeo-Christian religions to highlight another difference between East and West. Speaking of the characters, most of them have unconventional jobs by Asian film and TV standards. Danny is a handyman, Amy owns her own business selling plants, George is an artist in the loosest sense of the word, Paul is a dreamer, and Isaac is a criminal. This is a departure from the norm because Asians on screen are typically running laundrettes, restaurants, or convenience stores if they are immigrants. Others are assigned to be straight-laced professionals or ineffectual nerds. Perhaps this overrepresentation of Asians in white-collar jobs reflects reality, but it also has the unintended effect of perpetuating the idea that Asians are snobby, insular, and don't respect manual labor and creative work. More recently, the Asian himbo character has been popping up. This role is often reserved for Eurasians and is a sad attempt at changing how Asians are perceived because there's nothing behind these roles other than sexual appeal. The characters in Beef don't just have irregular jobs, they are also much more grounded and flawed than typical TV Asians, who tend to be virtuous. It's common for Asians on screen to be virtuous because it complements their portrayal as victims, either a victim of an inferior culture or, more generally, a victim of circumstance. So when Asian characters act or think in ways that don't conform to Western values, having a pure heart helps them gain sympathy with the audience. Beef throws all those conventions out the window. Our characters are exposed, emotional wrecks, and capable of all kinds of skullduggery that any human is capable of. This allows the show to present Asian Americans in a fresh and thought-provoking way. This leads us into the third unique thing about Beef.
Sup, Isaac?
Sup, Isaac? Isaac Hyung, bitch.
I don't make these gook rules. Get up, you bold-legged fuck. Give me a front hug.
The unapologetic presentation of Asian American culture. Although American accents and lifestyles feature prominently in the show, our characters haven't abandoned their roots. We see moments in which they are conflicted about their beliefs. Like when Danny tells Paul that he should settle down with a Korean wife that will serve him kimchi stew after work. Meanwhile, Danny can't have enough of American fast food sandwiches and watching interracial porn. At the end of the spectrum, we also have George and his mother, who are so ingrained in the American way of life, you wonder if they still observe any Japanese traditions. There are many such moments of East-West interplay, but the show doesn't beat you over the head with them. Let's explore one such nuanced scene from the first episode. Here, Danny wants his younger brother Paul to hand over all the info to his crypto accounts because Danny is afraid that Paul will make reckless bets and lose all his money, as he has done before. Paul, of course, protests, but he relents and gives his brother the passwords. This exchange might seem off to the average American who would have expected Paul to tell his brother off in a defiant act of Western individualism. But if you're from a culture in which deference to your elders is the norm, like in Chinese, Japanese, or Korean traditions, Paul's acquiescence isn't out of place. It's commendable that there's no explanation regarding the cultural aspect at play. The show trusts the viewer to figure out if Paul gave up his passwords because he's a pushover or because of something else. Thankfully, the sharp writing helps you get there. This is just one of many scenes in which a cultural trait drives a character's actions in an understated manner, and it's why Beef is such a satisfying watch. Viewers who get the ethnic references right away feel gratified that their experiences are being acknowledged, while viewers who need to read between the lines and catch other clues before they get it are also rewarded with a more fulfilling story. So many Asian American shows feel the need to have extra lines of exposition to justify the ethnic quirks, which can make a scene drag or feel less impactful. However, being able to present Asian culture innovatively is only possible if you're willing to stick your neck out and poke fun at others as well as yourself. Which leads me to the last point which makes Beef unique. Having the courage to offend everyone and everything. Aside from our Asian characters not living up to their disciplined, law-abiding, model citizen stereotype, the show also makes the least likable person a white woman. In a sea of Asian faces, that's a bold move. It's like making a movie with an all-white cast and having the only villain be a black man. They made no attempts to hide that Jordan is a wealthy, ignorant narcissist with few positive traits, and boy did they cut her story short at the end. Of course, our main Asian characters are also guilty of many offenses. Amy, who is of Chinese-Vietnamese descent, gave her plant business a Japanese-German name in what is clearly a strategy that prioritizes marketing over cultural sensitivity. Isaac may be the most irreverent of the bunch, but he's a breath of fresh air as far as Asians go. If Hollywood had rules for writing Asian characters, he breaks all of them. Isaac seems to respect his Korean heritage as much as Danny, but he has no qualms taking digs at everything from the X-Men to church and Filipinos. And then there's the refrain from Danny, which seems to summarize the show's philosophy.
Western therapy doesn't work on Eastern minds.
God, you are fucking proof that Western therapy does not work on Eastern minds.
Yeah, no shit!
Western therapy doesn't work on Eastern minds. Now, I may be reading too much into it, but the line suggests that the creators of Beef were tired of seeing Asian American shows rehash the same formula repeatedly. And who can blame them? These productions feel like infotainment to serve one purpose: to let mild Asians and their silly Eastern mannerisms provide amusement for Americans without the latter feeling threatened. Meanwhile, Asian viewers were just happy to see people who looked like them on screen. I guess what I'm saying is that most Asian American productions from the last few years feel like they belong in the 90s, whereas Beef has successfully captured modern Asian American life. It's evident that it was written for folks who are hungry for subtle themes and complex characters. As societies grow more cosmopolitan and people grow more aware of each other's differences, we can only hope that moving forward, Hollywood shows attempting to tell multicultural stories will contain the same level of creativity and effort as Beef, because it would be a shame if this gem was a one-off fluke that came together by accident. Until next time, thank you for watching.